they came in shouting at my mother. My mother was...
Who came in? The Nazis?
The Nazis came shouting, everyone into the truck. My mother, she wasn't lost. She wanted to dress 2 dresses on her, wherever she tried. No packing, into the truck. So she with a baby on her arm and pregnant.
Wow.
We were hoarded into a truck.
Welcome to Ordinary People with Extraordinary Stories. I'm Hannah Weisberg, host of this podcast. Joining me today, we have a woman with an extraordinary story, Mrs. Tuky Treitel. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. I don't know if it's a pleasure. We'll see.
We'll see. That's a good answer. Mrs. Treitel is a Holocaust survivor. She survived the war, hidden on a farm, and she has really an incredible story to tell us. Her story was actually written by her daughter, and I was privileged to get it. It's called Tuky, The Story of a Hidden Child, and she really was a hidden child throughout. So, Mrs. Treitel, can you start with telling us, first of all, what was life like in your homeland as a youngster? I mean, how old were you when the war began?
I was, before the war, actually, I started grade 1. So I was quite young. And then the school dissolved just one day. The teacher said, I think it was Rabbi Povidlo, if I remember, that was his name. And you don't have to come back. We're not coming back anymore.
Wow.
And that's but I was young, so I don't remember a lot of details.
Right.
So that I
For
remember.
Sure.
And
tell us a little about your background, your family, your parents.
My maiden name is Gestetner from Újpest, which is they call today Naipest. In Jewish way, it's called the same thing. It's like New Pest. That's the name of it. It's a suburb of Budapest, and that's where we grew up. We were all born, I mean, not all of us. I was born in Budapest itself. And life in our home was always fun and jolly. And I come from a family of 11. And till this day, when we get together, it's just fun. My great-grandchildren hang out with us. They love it. So we're just fun and with, very well-baptized home. My father was a very successful businessman, and everyone had room in our house. We always had people coming, and I remember as a small child, people coming for medical reasons to Budapest, and they stayed by us. And everyone was welcome. No cell phones, no reservations, no extra room, but there was always room. Because when there's room in your heart, there is room in your home.
Wow. Reading the book, it comes across that your family is a very aristocratic family, very dignified. There was just so much respect that was conveyed the way that the children related to the parents.
Oh, beyond.
That's what comes across. And you could almost envision your Shabbat table,
No, you can't.
No, you can't.
Actually, you can't, because we were a lot, but we never were rowdy. By ourselves, yes. At the table, no one spoke. Our parents spoke, and we answered. We all had our Zemiras to sing. I had to sing a Zemiras, and that was mine. And it had to be said, no matter how many people, who was there, shy or not shy. But one thing you're saying about respect, my father is unfortunately gone a long time, almost 70 years. I don't think today I would do anything that he doesn't approve of.
Really? Wow.
No.
Wow. You also describe how, first of all, your part was they were well-to-do, so they were always giving charity. Charity was something that was part of like growing up. You describe how you went to a family with a mother who just gave birth to a baby, and you tried to put some money there, leave some money for her.
No, that I saw from my mother. We went to visit somebody, And this was a time where my mother was already widowed in a new country where she didn't speak the language. We came here, and tragically, that's something I don't want to describe. My father just at the Shabbos table at the age of 52. My brother was 3 years, so just 3 years old. He just died. And we're
Wow.
in a total strange country. It was after the war. Everyone was new in the country, in Canada. And everyone was just starting their lives, widows, older boys. Everyone was orphaned. There was nothing there. We were the only one in Montreal. My father had a car, so he drove around. And there was just totally devastated world. So everyone is starting to start their lives, and this happened to us. So I had to describe this. And my mother continued. Rosh Chodesh, she didn't sew, she didn't mend, so she went to visit people. She went to visit who she felt was an almona. So was my mother with 9.
A widow, widow.
A
Right.
widow. Totally alone, and only 2 children were married out of the 11. Most of the boys did not have their bar mitzvahs.
Wow.
And we went to visit, and my mother, just before we left, she said, I want to make a brucha in your house. Can I have a glass of water? So I was surprised. And so the lady went out, and my mother slipped $5 under the tablecloth. So this is what I
Wow.
learned.
So as a child, I mean, you describe in your book how you went to visit someone in Budapest and you slipped that.
No, that's what. Yeah, yes. So
Right.
that's where it comes from.
That's what was come
That's
from.
where it comes from.
During the war in your house, you also describe how you had a lot of refugees
Oh,
coming
yeah.
right before the war, right before the situation deteriorated.
People were escaping from other countries like Romania, and they all came to Budapest. They were not allowed in shuls, in synagogues, because if they went in, they asked them, do you have papers? They were young boys, frum boys, religious boys going into synagogues, and they wanted to pray there. And they said, do you have papers? People came over to says, no. Well, you have to leave. You're jeopardizing us. They find you here, we will be murdered, and you will be murdered. So it's not good for anybody. So they would not take the risk. So what should we do? Go to the Gestetners. And they
Wow.
did. And they did. And they did.
And you made room for them there, wherever
There
whoever came.
there was always room. We had many boys staying there and girls. And, they had my mother in the kitchen. There was always somebody there.
Was it
Always.
was it dangerous to host them?
Very,
Very.
very, very.
Were your parents nervous about that?
I don't remember them being nervous. All they knew is that they could come, and they came and they stayed.
Did you, as a child, understand what was going on?
No,
No.
these are our guests. Absolutely
Right.
not. Not only that,
Right.
but we always had a good time, and we made fun of them like kids do. We
Right.
made them, you're a chazan, we told one of them. Isaac was called him, you're a chazan, and we made him sing, and your voice is so good.
Wow.
He didn't know how to sing, but we
Right.
we teased him enough.
You teased him. Wow. So your father had a factory there. He was the owner of a factory.
Yes, yes.
And your mother was in charge of the home. You had a
My
lot of
mother
siblings.
was a real balbuster, always guest, and don't
A
forget,
real homemaker.
homemaker is not even
Not the word. No.
Not
Yeah.
the word. Anyone can. The table was never set for less than 20 to 25 people, always.
Wow.
And
Wow.
this meant going to the market. She went to the market with the help, and just brought home the food fresh. There was no storage fridges and no freezers. Everything had to be done that day.
Wow. Wow.
They made
She was busy.
They made the pasta alone, the paksa for the soup, for the macaron. Everything was made at home.
That day. Wow. Wow. Incredible. How did things change when, I mean, this is, you grew up in this privileged home, this aristocratic home, and then things suddenly changed. Could you tell us what happened how did it change?
From what I will tell you what I remember. They came in shouting at my mother. My mother was,
Who came in? The Nazis?
the Nazis came shouting, everyone into the truck. My mother, she wasn't lost. She wanted to dress, 2 dresses on her, wherever she tried. No packing, into the truck, into the truck. So she with a baby on her arm and pregnant,
Wow.
we were hoarded into a truck. Well, now, no seat belts, no seats, no nothing, just open. And at that time, from what I heard, my father just came home from school and saw what's going on, that his family is being hoarded into a truck. And he had to make a very quick decision. Do I join them? Or do I stay out, because he had connections, he had money? Or I stay out and I try to save them. And then he made a very split-second decision to stay free, and that did help.
Of course. That was how he actually saved the family.
Yes, yes.
Wow. So you were taken in this truck with all these other people, I guess, other Jews?
No,
just your family.
We were
just your
a
family.
large family, just us.
Right. How many were you at the time?
We were only 8. My mother is the only one that went to the war with 8 children, came back with 9.
Wow. Wow. Because she was pregnant at the time. Wow. And you were how old at this time?
I was 6.5. I was maybe just about 7.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So you were taken to where? The truck took you to?
To a jail, and there they see all these kids, and the Nazis come in, the SS come in. We're not babysitting them. We did not come here to babysit them. So to my understanding, I think we were given oath to child protection. I don't know. I don't really know. My older siblings were just roaming the streets. But I remember being sent to I don't know, maybe it was 2 single ladies, older ladies. To me, they were older. They were probably 28 at the time.
Right.
So they were, and I was there. I remember sitting in a very nice velour chair and sobbing, and just putting my face in the pillow. And I remember telling my father after, I was crying nonstop. So my father asked me, what did they say? So I made sure they didn't notice. Of course they noticed, but at my age, I thought that they didn't notice.
Right. Wow.
So
they took you.
Then they placed us in different places. I remember being in several places, like, I don't even know if they were Jewish. I don't know, in apartment houses. And I had a big mouth, and even though I was shy, and so they said, I was telling everybody, my father is trying to get my mother out legally. So they took me from apartment to apartment. I should tell my story. And I carried on so long that they took me to my mother, actually, to visit.
Oh, wow.
And I was the only one. I remember, that was, I don't want to describe it because I don't want to lose it. My mother hugging me and crying, sobbing. It was horrible. They pushed me through railings somehow. And I remember, I didn't stay there long, but I know that I had a visit with my mother.
And she was there, and she was in prison then?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And then from there, you ended up going to
I
farm?
have to tell you something. I didn't go to a farm yet. Very interesting about my mother. She was really unusual. To every child, a mother is unusual. They're not there even more unusual, but she was a legend in her lifetime. She was in that place, in this jail, and she procured somehow candles, and she lit candles, and she was sitting, huddling young girls around her. And there was one Nazi, a real serious one, and everywhere he saw a candle, he started yelling and blow it out right away. You blow it out. Came to my mother. My mother's presence required respect. He just took his pipe and turned around and walked out the room. Wow. So I had to add this because this is such a phenomenon to me.
Wow.
Just her presence, I I saw it here too.
Where did she get the candles from
I
to
don't
light?
know. We don't know till this day.
But this was for Friday night, for Shabbat.
Of
She would light the
course,
candles.
of
Right.
course. She for
Wow.
candles, and to her it was the way she observed mitzvahs was beyond.
What a woman! Wow.
Yes.
What royalty! Unbelievable. So what happened next in your own story? You were
In my
taken
own, then we were taken from place to place. Once my father found a place to hide us, and then he realized that right across the street is the Gestapo headquarters.
Oh, wow.
Because they took over wherever they wanted. You know,
Sure.
they did not reserve in advance to rent places. Right. They took over. So this was very, very upsetting. I remember that time, my brother was already by some Gentiles somewhere in a village. And I don't know why they brought him back. That was the baby brother. Mm-hmm. And they brought him back, and my mother was not happy that she found things in the diaper that children don't get, like leaves and grass, and they were. So they found somebody else for this brother at the time. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so, this was.
And what about you? Where were you the whole time?
In between, I mean, I'm not fluent. I'm not a speaker. It's just they found a very, very noble Gentile woman, really what they call a holy woman. She offered my aunt. She stopped. She said, "I can help you. Don't go with the food anywhere. I will take it." And she was the one that found these people, I think, in the villages to take us in. So she found somebody else. So she found. Then to my understanding, what I heard, my father found a place for hiding for, I think, 23 people or maybe 26 people, I don't know. They were deciding which of the children will be able to be in a basement hidden without a sound. Mm-hmm. So they went by age, and I was the cutoff age. So then my father calls me one day and says, I don't remember exactly where we were at the time. And he says, "You are going to go away with these people. Your name is not Tuky anymore. No, your name is not Marian Gestetner. You are Maria Lodic." So my name was Maria for the time. And don't remember, and you can't tell anybody that you're Jewish. You're going to go away, and this is your name. And also my younger brother and a cousin. We were two families, two sisters married, two brothers. So we were always together. We had the same names, the same cousins, the same grandparents. So we really, till this day, we're like siblings. Mm-hmm. And so one of my cousins, my brother, who was younger, he's unfortunately not with us anymore, they sent us to this place. And this is where I was. And interestingly, I could never eat pork. I could not swallow it. Oh, and also we were told that you're allowed to eat everything. The Rebbeim allow it. This is, they had explained us. You're allowed to eat everything, and
I mean, your life depended on it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I have to tell you that I ran out to the garden to say a blessing on what I'm eating, even if it wasn't kosher, but that's the way it was.
Wow.
And I said, Moidani, we say a prayer when we wake up to thank God that we woke up. I put my face in the pillow, and that's what I said, Shema, because you don't go to sleep differently.
Wow. How old were you at this time?
Still, by us in Hungary, the war only lasted about 8 months, from March to December 17 or 18, something like this. So it was very short. I was still the same age.
So you were 7 years old, about 7 years old.
And which I didn't say when my father sent away. He blessed us. There is a blessing that they say. And also said, remember who you are.
Wow.
I get emotional when I say this, that you're not Maria, you are Malka.
Wow. You could just imagine that moment. It must have been so
No, you
emotional.
can't.
You can't imagine. No,
You
you
know
can't
what?
even imagine.
I didn't, but my hair
Right.
was wet. But my hair was wet from my father's tears.
Right. Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And those were his parting words. He didn't know if he would see you again. Those were his words to you. Remember who you are.
And
Remember
you
that you're
know
a Jew.
what? A lot of children were not picked up because the parents
Right.
didn't make it. Actually, I met
Right.
somebody like that. I met someone
Right.
like that. And I asked her, how do you know your name is Chavi? She says, I don't.
Wow.
A farm lady
Wow.
gave us over to these rabbis, and he said my name was Eva, so they gave me the name Chavi. But she doesn't know that her name was. She doesn't know she had siblings, so it wasn't unusual.
Sure. For sure. So how did you get the name Tuky from Malka?
I was cute.
So what does
When
cute have to do with Tuky?
Suki in Hungarian, they say
Tuky.
somebody is cute, Suki, like sweetie.
Tuky.
And
Sweet.
my brother, who's 2 years older, soll sein gesund, he couldn't say Tsuki, so he said Tuki.
Tuky. Wow. So you remember that your name was Malki when you went Malka Gestetner when you went to this farm, but you could
Yes.
never to this place of hiding, but you could never say anything.
No.
And what was it like there? What was it like living on that in that village?
Actually, I can't say that they were nice to me. They were really, I can't say anything not nice. I actually slept with 2 other Gentile girls, their family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to wait till they fall asleep till I say Shema. I couldn't say it. So when they were sleeping, that's when I put my face in the pillow and mumbled my mumbles.
Did they suspect at all that you were Jewish?
No, not the girls for sure. Not maybe I don't know who knew or who didn't know, but certainly they did not make it obvious. It wasn't.
So you stayed on this farm, you were fed whatever food you were
Yes,
fed.
no, they were no. There was food. This was a farm. They had their own thing. They killed their own pork. They picked their own vegetables. It's on the farms they had no problem.
Right.
They make everything. Flour they had, and I don't know exactly. I was young and I don't
Right.
remember everything.
Right.
Like they asked me, how do I remember? What I remember is the trauma, being sent
Of
away,
course.
being blessed,
course.
these things that I don't remember.
Sure. Of course.
If
What did
you,
it feel what did it feel like to be I mean, what do you remember about how it felt like?
I don't remember any shocking anything like this. And going back, that's the way we brought up. We had to do what we were told. We're just speaking to my sister. Do you ever remember saying no to your parents?
Right.
No, it's not. We didn't love everything. Don't misunderstand. It's so funny. We're talking with my sister. She's like, we didn't like our hair, we didn't like our dresses, whatever it was. And we were actually dressed very nicely.
Right.
My mother was very fussy. We didn't have a gazillion things. 1 Shabbos dress and maybe 2 others. And we wore an apron over our clothes,
Wow.
always.
Very proper. Very different than
I
today's
don't know.
generation.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right. So you were on this farm, and then what happened? What happened after that?
Actually, we're on the farm, and it failed. It's also a long story. It's in the book. It's not. I don't think it's so relevant, but they were teasing my cousin and my brother, and they said, "But we have to pay for this." He says, "Yeah, you have no money." And my cousin said, "We have no money. When we get back our factory, we can buy the whole village."
Wow.
So they were sitting around, the intelligentsia, the butcher and the farmer and whoever was sitting around there. And he says, these are not just friends, kids from the city. These are Jewish kids. And they came to arrest them, which I wasn't aware of because I was somewhere else. And then they came to get me.
Wow.
And they take
And
me.
where were you taken?
I was taken in, which they said is the police station. Could have been because there was a billiard table, but doesn't make a difference. And there is my cousin and my brother standing, sniffling, wiping their noses in the corner. and they asked me, what's your name? I said, my name is Maria Ladic. What's your real name? My real name is Maria Ladic. He says, we're going to beat you up till you will say whatever you say. My cousin got very nervous. He says, her name is Marianna Gestetner and the mother's name is Gisela Salomon. In Europe, in the olden days, you had to say immediately when you were asked legally what's your name, you had to say your mother's name, maiden name, and first name and maiden name. So
Right.
he knew, and
So
that
that
was
gave
the
you
end.
away. Wow. So where did they take you then?
And they actually wanted to find a ghetto to throw us in. Till this day, I must say it's a mess. What's a mess? A miracle.
Miracle.
And it was definitely, which I have to tell you, we had blessed coins from the Belzer Rebbe. I
What
think
your father got these coins from the Belzer Rebbe?
No, the Belzer Rebbe was smuggled through Hungary to Israel. They wanted to take him. He did go to Israel finally, and he was hiding in Budapest. And when my father found out where, and he took a bowl of silver coins, and he said to Rebbe, bless these coins. I want to say and everyone had a silver coin hanging, priest holes on it, hanging in our necks.
All your family
All of
members.
us, and everyone came back.
Wow.
Everyone came back, and the coins vanished. Not one coin remained. I thought this is noteworthy.
Incredible.
So that's why I keep on thinking they had no problem. I witnessed people being killed. They had no problem killing. Why didn't they shoot these three rascals? So we walked to the next village. The gendarme is, I don't know how they say it it's more than, it's not a soldier, it's like one above. I don't know. Authority.
Like an officer?
Authority. Authority. He was going on a bicycle and we were walking next to it. And actually the person where I stayed, he came along with some food. He walked along till the next, I don't remember all the way through, but next. Then he went to the one village and they take the police station and they said, we have 3 rascals I want to get rid of. Put them in the jail. Put them in the ghetto, not jail. Put them in the ghetto. We have no ghetto. And the pride was those days, wir sind Judenrein. We are clean of Jews. So there is no Jew more in town, so there's no ghetto. The ghetto was, I don't know when it was dismantled, but they finished with the Jews. The next 3 times we went and we missed it. By the last one, we missed it practically by hours. So they threw us into a jail. I don't know how long. One night we were there for sure. I don't know how long. And then somehow they got us up to Budapest. And in Budapest, they put us into, it was more like a holding unit. That's where they were keeping people to send them off to Auschwitz or to Germany to be exterminated. So it was like this. They took me into a room. We arrived there. They separated us, disinfected us. We were in some kind of a smelly place, totally undressed, everybody. And then they take me into a room. You have a room. It was shelves, wooden shelves. People were sleeping on wooden shelves. In one corner, a blonde lady sees me. She totally loses it. The man that's screaming. There are still children alive. I want my child. So they took me out of there because it was horrible. It was horrible. The shriek was like chilling, bone-chilling shriek. So they took me out. They had nowhere to put me, so they put me down to a holding unit, into a cell, where they kept people for 2 weeks to be sent off to. I don't know why I'm saying 2 weeks, because that's the thing that I imagine. That's where we were all lying on, not a bed, springs. And in one corner was a huge pail that was ensuite bathroom. Picture it. And this is where I was sent to, because I don't know, they didn't find somewhere to place me.
To put you.
So I don't know if somebody told me or I dreamt, don't go away from here. No idea how or what. And I was there, and suddenly I see on the windows, I see my brother's shoes, feet, and my cousins. And I summoned them. They sat down, they stick in your feet, slide their shoelaces, and I said Moidani with them, whatever I know, Shema Israel. Whatever I knew. I didn't know much, but what I had to, which again, thanks to my mother for being brought up, we rely on schools, but really...
Right, the education is from home. Wow.
You know, like, I hardly went to any Jewish school. I really didn't. I can't claim that I did. Because when they asked me, where were you educated? I said, Hitler's Academy.
Right. Wow. Wow.
And
so you felt you felt a responsibility to your brothers. You were what, like a year older than them? Or
yes.
How much older? 2 years older than them?
A year and a half, too. Yes.
Right. So the 7-year-old girl is making sure that her little brothers are saying the Shema and saying Madani in this holding cell.
Yeah, in this hall.
Wow. Right, right.
Then the door swings open, and there stands an SS with a clipboard, and starts ticking off names. And it's my turn to go. I was skinny, not cute, speech impediment, whatever you want, miserably dressed, dirty. And I step up to him and I say to him in my it is my language, the way I spoke, I'm sorry, I can't go away from here. I have 2 little brothers that can't tie their shoelaces, and my mother is sick in a hospital, and my father is a soldier. Totally fabricated it. How and why, I don't know.
Right.
I believe it or not, he had rachmanas on me. He had pity on me. Right. He had pity on me, and he slammed the door behind me. Go and wait until the truck left. And he said, scram, get lost.
Wow.
And then I was outside, and I don't remember where I slept after that, but I know that there was an office, a sort of an office, and I went there every day asking, my name is Marianna Gestetner. Do you have a package for me? Do you have a letter for me? They were laughing at me. Every time I came, there was a giggle. Here she comes. Of course, I didn't know that there was no post, no letter, and my parents couldn't write to me because there was no postage, there was nothing.
Right.
So
why did you do that? Why did you feel the need to do that?
I can't tell you. I cannot tell you.
Really?
I cannot tell you.
Interesting.
Everybody, they asked me, what did I think? I said, I don't know. Maybe at the time I had a reason, but now I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Right. But that was how your father actually ended up finding you.
I think so. Because
how did that happen?
I don't know how it happened. I really don't even know how it happened. But by that time, it was much towards the end of the war. Mm-hmm. And I don't even remember how they took us. And my parents were, those days, you heard of Wallenberg, of course, everybody did. Mm-hmm. So he was a Swedish diplomat, I believe. And anybody that was a Swedish subject or anything to do with Sweden could be, the Swedish king had really felt sorry for us. At one point, he even put on a yellow star.
Right.
So Gestetner was the first duplicating machine. And there was an office in Stockholm, in Sweden. Mm-hmm. So we were Swedish subject because we had a place in our name existed in Sweden. So they qualified. There was an apartment building set up by the Danube, and they had it's what's called Swedish protected houses. So whoever was a subject could stay there.
So you were actually Swedish, or you just because of your just your last name that he thought you were Swedish?
He didn't talk. My father, gave.
Your father thought, right. He worked it out. Wow.
Yeah, is that we have a place in, see, anything Swedish connection, we had a privilege to be in these homes.
Right.
But towards the end, the Arrow Cross, that's the Hungarian,
Red Cross?
not Red Cross,
No.
Nazis, they were called Arrow Cross. They were horrible, murderers. 16, 70-year-olds were shooting people into the river. That's you heard of the shoes, of course.
Sure.
So that's, my parents were in that building, and that's where they took us also. They came in shouting, "It's over, there is no more protection," and they marched us to the ghetto. But this was just at the very end. The war was practically lost, and they were still fighting, trying to kill as many Jews as possible.
Wow. So when you were, how were you reunited with your parents?
So that's why they brought me into to this Swedish house. That's where I was taken. I don't even remember by who. I don't remember. I just remember arriving there and seeing my father, and I was sobbing. I did not shed one tear. I was such a crybaby. Not one tear since I left my parents.
Wow.
But coming back, and not only that, but I was starved, malnourished, and full of lesions in my mouth. They tried to make me laugh because I was so big. So, and I was holding myself because laughing hurt. My lesions started bleeding. It was...
Sure. Wow. Wow. What was the feeling like? Like, tell us.
I can't. I'm telling you, I was so emotional. I was sobbing. I could not control it.
Wow.
Well, of course, I was 7 years old. I haven't seen my parents for months and months. I was aware of the fact that it might not be. Like, we saw people being killed.
Sure.
We saw being shot down just like this. So it wasn't...
Wow. Incredible. I know there's also an incredible story of your mother giving birth during the war. Can you tell us a little?
After, when we were walking to the ghetto. And the bombs were falling, and like I said, these young Scots, I don't want to say what they are, were walking us. They were afraid to walk any further. In front of me, I was standing in line, there was a lady in a camel coat and polka dot kerchief. And she looked up and shot her in the head. It was January. She was lying there right next to me. I was afraid to move, of course. And my brother, who was 2 years older, and my mother in the 9th month, was crying, "Don't step on dead body." Sorry. "Don't step on dead body." My brother, who is very, very cute at the time, he said, actually, I just told me this recently. Then I decided, when I saw that lady falling, somebody being killed like this, I don't think we will stay alive. But if I do, I will never cheat in praying. I will say every word clearly. He just told us this on the trip we were talking.
Wow.
So we were watching, and my mother picked up my 9-year-old brother, who was malnutritioned herself. She was starved, to walk to the ghetto. So in the ghetto, we were there, and finally we got there. There was no food. Once a day they gave a soup, I think, and there was no. My father got very, very sick. My father was a male, and I'm saying this because you'll tie up afterwards. And there were 3 brothers there, and one of the brothers died. So their brothers put signs on him and buried him there in the yard, promising to take him out. And they did after the war. They did take him out and reinterned him in a Jewish cemetery. So this happened, and my mother goes into labor. And she goes across the street, which was like a makeshift hospital, and holds on to a doctor. She's in labor, and the place was desolate, a lot of dead bodies, and whenever she gives birth to my brother, and not a diaper, not an undershirt, not a blanket. January 15, his birthday is January 15.
Wow.
Not a water to wash, so not a lady lying there had also a baby. And she pushed over to her a tiny bowl of water. Wash your baby, which she used already. The used water,
Wow.
okay?
Wow.
Yes. What does one do? My mother ripped out the lining of her coat, wrapped the baby. That was the diaper, that was the thing. And she managed.
Wow. What strength.
And then 2 days later, we were liberated.
Looking back at your whole story, what you went through, what are your thoughts? What would you like people to know about? What lesson would you like them to take from the
What
story?
I tell everybody is the power of one. We all count. God is counting on each and every one of us. Take a look. I came back. I'm not taking credit for it. I'm alive. I have a tribe. I have a family. All, emissaries all over the United States. And we all count. And every little good thing counts. Don't imagine all big things, just little things, little things. Visit somebody, even a smile at somebody, cheer somebody up. It's a good day. Make
Wow.
it good. Make it good.
Wow.
Wake up
Wow.
in the morning and just say, they ask me how I am. I said, I choose to be fine. You don't need to know any other detail. I can walk, I can see, I must be able to do something right, something nice that God will have pleasure from.
Unbelievable. Such a positive message. Do you carry any of the trauma, anger,
No,
depression? Why? How do you
these
not?
are a lot of, God forbid, somebody has an illness, and mental illness is a sickness just like tuberculosis or heart failure that they can't help. But otherwise, pick up your socks and move. Do something. Do something. There is so much thing. Visit a hospital, visit an old age home. It's something. Something. There's always something to do. Always. There's always somebody that needs a cheering up.
Incredible. Throughout this whole time, I mean, you say you were saying the Shema, you were saying the Moda'ani, even as a young child. Did your faith in God did it ever waver? Did it ever lessen because of what you saw?
Absolutely not. There is a major plan here. There's a master plan, and that's going to be, whether you like it or not, whether you plan it or not, that's going to be. There is good things coming. Only
Wow.
good things are coming.
Are you worried now with the anti-Semitism that we see around the world?
It's very sad. It's not new. It's so funny because my children just say, Mommy, you always said, we're not loved. We're not loved. You have to make yourself lovable. And you know what? God should love us. Read the newspaper. Israel is smaller than my nail on my pinky. And it's in the news every single day. Why? They're obsessed with us. Why? I'm going to quote my son-in-law, Rabbi New, because we are supposed to be the lamplighters. We are supposed to be the ones showing the way. So they are expecting us to do that.
Unbelievable. Beautiful. Wow. Mrs. Treitel, thank you so much for doing this. I know you were hesitant about
I
it.
was very hesitant. I
But
love,
I
I love,
really appreciate that you
I
did
love
this.
people and I like to speak to people, but I'm not a good speaker. Really, not a good speaker.
You did amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you
You
for
are too
joining
nice.
us.
Okay,
We really
Hatzloch
appreciate
and
it.
brocha with everything.
Thank you. Wow, what an incredible story from Mrs. Tuky Treitel. Just, it's just amazing. You think about this young child, this young girl, 7 years old, how she's away from home for months on end in this farm, how this woman, this young girl who grew up in such an aristocratic family, who had everything, is suddenly faced with a situation completely the opposite of everything she knew. She hasn't seen her parents, and she feels like she's entrusted with taking care of her younger brothers, who were just, what, a year and a half, 2 years younger than her. and tells them, say Shema, say the prayers, say Moda'ani, remember that you're Jewish. The strength of character from this woman just comes so clearly. And just as I'm listening to it, I just keep thinking, and of course her mother as well, who she took the example from. But as I'm listening to her tell her story, it just strikes me that this is really the story of the Jewish people. This is the Jewish people. She personifies the Jewish people, this strength, this resilience, this royalty, this nobility that comes across in how she tells her story, and at the end in how she explains her faith in God, her resilience, her attitude to just not this depression, not this negativity, but just this positivity that if you're capable of doing something good, pull up your socks, go out there, do something good. We all have a purpose in being here, and we all need to do what we're supposed to be doing. And we need to be that light unto the nations. What an incredible lesson for all of us. You know, we all go through different times of difficulty. And her message is really, this is the strength of the Jewish people. This is who we are. You look around and you see a situation of anti Semitism. As she beautifully says, we're not loved, but we need to be loved by the one who matters, by God and God alone. What an incredible message. If you enjoyed watching this interview, please make sure that you are subscribed at Chabad.org/extraordinary. Tell us what you thought. What did you gain from this interview? What did you gain from Mrs. Treitel, from her strength, from her story? At a time when Holocaust denial is so pervasive, I felt it was so important to actually have a survivor, a child survivor, explain what it was like for them, what they were going through. And again, imagine, what strikes you is how her father is standing there saying, blessing her without knowing if he's going to see her again. We could just envision that perspective, that the emotions that were running. But there's so much to this interview. What did you enjoy? Which part of it did you like? What lesson are you taking home from it? We love to hear your feedback. We read every single one of them, and we really are encouraged by it. Please send us a like if you're watching. We're available as well on Spotify or on Apple, on all podcast streaming platforms, so you can see us there. Share with your friends, tell them about us, and thank you so much for being part of the extraordinary community.